Usually I love being right. I love rubbing people's faces in it, noses in it, whatever the case might be. There are those instances every once in a while, however, where even though I know I'm going to be right and I fully believe I'm right and I'm going to be right, I really hope that I end up being proven wrong. I'm willing to eat that crow and take that pie in the face and have everybody have a laugh at my expense. Unfortunately, being a Chicago Bears fan, when it comes to this organization, far more often than not, Jeff is dead on the money. And I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm far more often than not proven right when it comes to the things that I say about this organization. I tried to come on here after the 2012 season, before the 2013 season, and tell you that this Bears organization couldn't afford to punt the ball down the road anymore. They needed to prepare for life after Jay Cutler, and they needed to start rebuilding that defense. You got rid of Lovie Smith. No more reason to run the Tampa 2, the cover 2. It was time to realize that you had your time, you didn't get it done, you were at the end of the road, and it was time to move on and begin that slow process of rebuilding and do it right. With a new general manager and a new head coach, the time to do that was now. Unfortunately, the Bears organization determined that they were indeed in a win now mode. Foolishly, they believed they were anything other than a mediocre football team, and a lot of Bears fans, of course, not surprisingly at all, predictably fell into that trap of believing the bullshit, believing that this team was going to be a legit Super Bowl contender. Why? I don't know. What the hell made them think that? I'll never know. But we were finding out throughout the course of the season that I was indeed right. That the Bears defense was not only bad, but they were historically bad. The worst Bears defense I have ever seen. And, you could sit there and make excuses for injuries, but, good organizations find a way to have players ready to step up when somebody goes down. A lot of you are going to sit there and blame Mel Tucker and say he's a terrible defensive coordinator. Well, one, you knew he wasn't a great defensive coordinator coming in. Number two, why would you bring in a guy to be the defensive coordinator, and you're not even going to allow him to run his own shit in his own system? You're insisting that he has to do what the players want. Well, if the players wanted to run the fucking Tampa 2 so damn bad, then they should have played better for Lovie Smith. They never won anything ultimately. They didn't win shit. No championships. That defense and the players on that defense had no reason and no right to sit there and fight so stubbornly to say, well, if you're bringing somebody in, we insist that they run this system. And he did. And you know what? You get what you deserve. And that's exactly what the Bears got this year. And then the Bears on the offensive side of the football, they made these changes. They draft Kyle Long in the first round, even though they should have drafted Larry Warford in the second round. It would have gotten a better player, could have drafted somebody else in the first round. They bring in Martellus Bennett. They foolishly signed Jermod Bushrod for way too much money, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl this year. They bring in Matt Slauson, who was actually okay. They draft Jordan Mills in the fifth round, who had his moments, both good and bad. And it's like, oh my God, this offense is going to be spectacular and it's going to be world beating and it's going to be elite and all of this other shit. And it had its moments and its flashes where it was, but it also had its moments where they struggled to score points and they struggled to move the football on certain teams and they just had some flat out bad games. And you look at this Green Bay game tonight, it crystallizes so many things for this Bears organization of the past few years to me. A team that can't beat Green Bay, a team that fools you at moments, but ultimately reality hits you, and a defense that was historically bad. Such an appropriate fitting ending. Bears fans, once and for all, can you please realize and understand that you play in the same division as the Green Bay Packers? Can you please realize once and for all that you saw a franchise quarterback in this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening game at Soldier Field, and he was wearing green and gold? And this was a guy that hadn't played in like 6 or 7 damn weeks. Aaron Rodgers showed you what an elite franchise quarterback looks like in the NFL. And for some reason, Bear fans still think that Jay Cutler is the man. Look, I'm not interested in your excuses about this and that. Oh, you can't blame Jay Cutler for this. You can't blame Jay Cutler for that. The bottom line is, when all is said and done, Jay Cutler must go. How many more seasons do you need this guy to ruin before you realize that he's not the man? How much longer is it going to take to sink through so many of your thick fucking skulls? Let's look at Jay Cutler for a second. He's 30 years old. He's been in Chicago now. He just completed his 5th full season. as a Chicago Bear. He has one season that he played 16 plus games. The number one critical, most important thing that a franchise quarterback can do is be there to answer the call for his team week in and week out, to be the leader on the field, to be relied upon, to be able to be called upon when the team needs him. And Jay Cutler has consistently demonstrated that he's not that guy. It's not an issue of toughness or not having toughness. It's durability. He's fucking injury prone, and that's just the way it is. If it's not one goddamn thing, it's another damn thing. One is enough. In his 5 seasons in Chicago, he has 0 4,000-yard passing seasons. 1 playoff appearance. And it gets better. 3 straight years of missing the playoffs and a career 1-9 record as a starter against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, including the 2010 NFC Championship game. Yet another game where the Bears tonight had a chance to beat Green Bay with so much on the line at home at Soldier Field, and they failed to get the job done. Jay Cutler next year is going to be 31 years old. What organization in their right mind would actually foolishly think at this point in time that Jay Cutler is a franchise quarterback? What organization in their right mind would foolishly plunk $15 million, if not more, each year for the next 4 to 5 years out of their salary cap to a guy who's made the playoffs once in 5 years? Who once in 5 years has actually played all 16 games, who has 0 4,000-yard passing seasons in his past 5 seasons. 0! And he has a 1-9 record against the gold standard in the division over the past 3 years, the freaking Green Bay Packers. 1-9! That right there should speak volumes to Bears fans. Hey, morons, wake up! The guy can't fucking beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He's not the one. Get over it. I've suffered through all the shitty Bears quarterbacks over the years. Jim McMahon and Sid Luckman aren't walking through the fucking door. I get that. But this is like the Rex Grossman shit. It took so many of you morons years to figure out that he fucking sucked. How much longer do you need to realize that Jay Cutler, all he's going to do is tease you and end up disappointing you? Just like he did again in 2013, just like he did in 2012, just like he did in 2011 when he missed the last 5-6 games of the season, just like he did in 2010 when they failed to seal the deal in Week 17 against Green Bay Packers at Soldier Field. They let the Packers into the playoffs, and then the Packers came into Chicago in the NFC Championship game and beat the Bears. And remember when Jay Cutler went out after the first half because of injury? How much more evidence do you need? In today's NFL, you cannot logically sit there and tie up so much of your salary cap space for several years in a guy that has proven a damn thing. He hasn't. 1 season where he's played 16 games, a 1-9 career record against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay as a Chicago Bear, 1 playoff appearance, 0 4,000-yard passing seasons. You have a perfect situation right now with a defense that clearly, as I tried to tell a lot of you idiots after last year, needed to be completely overhauled and rebuilt. Now everybody's going to be like, oh, the defense needs work. They need to be rebuilt. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I tried to tell you that last year. But again, what did Jeff know? What a perfect opportunity to free up a ton of cap space. Take a quarterback in the first or second round of the draft, bring him into a good situation where you have Marshall and you have Jeffrey and you have Bennett, you have Forte, you have an improved offensive line, and it will buy you time to take the next 2 to 3 years to really invest and emphasize rebuilding that defense. Maybe finally switching to a fucking 3-4, the only organization in NFL history, I believe, that has never run the 3-4 at any point in time. It's time to get with the program. It's time to get with the times maybe a little bit. Really invest in that defense, and while you do that, you could have a young quarterback that instead of tying $15 or $16 million in cap space into every year, you only have 4, 5, 6, maybe $7 million tied into. Doesn't that seem to make a lot more sense? And then that way, in 3 years when your defense is fully rebuilt and it can be a championship level contending defense, you still have the offensive pieces primarily in place. And instead of looking at a Cutler that's 33, 34, 35 years old, you've got a quarterback that is 24, 25, 26 years old that hasn't even freaking entered the peak of his career yet. This whole notion that Mark Trestman's some freaking quarterback guru, well, it really showed with Jay Cutler this year, didn't it? Yuck, yuck. Get the fuck out of here. McCown is a better fit for that system than Jay Cutler is. And McCown certainly isn't a franchise quarterback, and he certainly isn't the long-term answer. But even as McCown enters free agency this offseason, is it worth giving him some money over 2 or 3 years to be that temporary starter as you get that young guy ready to be that placeholder and then to be that guy's backup? Is it worth doing that? Hell yeah, especially compared to the alternative of paying an overrated piece of crap who's a terrible leader and inconsistent as all shit out and not reliable because of his lack of durability in Jay Cutler $15 or $16 million for the next 4 or 5 fucking seasons. What don't you morons in the national sports media get about this? What don't you morons that are Bears fans that still think that this guy's a franchise quarterback don't get? Yet another season where this Bears team fails to make the playoffs. Yet another season where the Bears, with Jay Cutler as a starting quarterback, can't beat the fucking Green Bay Packers. Yet another season where the Bears had their season ended by the Green Bay Packers. I don't know about you, but enough is enough. The first time the Bears made the Super Bowl, I was 4 years old. The next time they made the Super Bowl, I was 25 years old. At this point in time and at this pace, and sure as fuck looks like it's at this pace, the next time the Bears are going to make the Super Bowl, I'll be 46 years old. I don't want to wait that long. How stupid would it be for a general manager like Phil Emery and a head coach like Mark Trestman to continue to hitch their wagon to a guy who was a failed quarterback from the previous regime of Jerry Angelo and Lovie Smith? I know it doesn't make any fucking sense. Apparently, it only makes sense to some stupid Bears fans, most of the national sports media, and Phil Emery and Mark fucking Trestman. Mark my words. If the Bears somehow determine that it's worth re-signing Jay Cutler, and they will, because they're stupid, because this is an organization that clearly doesn't get it, and has proven they clearly don't get it for an extended period of time. And Emery is no more special than Jerry Angelo. He's a moron too. And Mark Trestman's certainly nothing special. He looks like freaking Dick Duran on the damn sidelines. No emotion, no passion at all. So you bring in yet another coach that's just the same as Lovie Smith or Dick Duran before that. You know, part of the reason that you go in a different direction is for a change in direction, not to basically have the same fucking direction. It's ridiculous. And this is a ridiculous notion that people are going to sit here now because Cutler had an okay game against the 26th ranked defense in the NFL, missing its best player in Clay Matthews. That's reason enough Cutler showed up, and we should now plunk $75-80 million into him over the next 4 to 5 years. No! He couldn't get the job done yet again. Assholes, listen up. 1-9 since 2009. Including an NFC Championship game loss against Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Yet another time where the Bears lose at home to Green Bay with everything on the fucking line. Yet another game where Jay Cutler ultimately gets outplayed by Aaron Rodgers. One season where he's played all 16 games. One playoff appearance in 5 seasons. 0 4,000-yard passing seasons. This whole notion that Jay Cutler's okay and you just give it more time is ridiculous and stupid. The NFL is ultimately a results-driven business. And you look at any other business in the world, if you had somebody like Jay Cutler who consistently teased but consistently didn't produce and didn't produce the results that you were paying him a hell of a lot of money to do, most businesses in the right mind would decide to move on from him. It's time for the Chicago Bears organization, the fan base, the Bears media, the Chicago sports media, and the national sports media to wake the fuck up. Jay Cutler is not the answer. The Bears need to rebuild, and they need to rebuild now. I tried to tell you dumb SOBs last year that that's what needed to happen. Oh no, what do I know? You know what? Go ahead. Go ahead. Let the Bears draft a stupid defensive tackle in the first round and draft a corner in the second round and re-sign Cutler for way too damn much over way too damn many. And then in 2014, when the Bears finish 8-8 or 9-7 and the Green Bay Packers are winning the division and going to the playoffs again, and the Chicago Bears are at home again, you know what? Then everybody and anybody can join me in assuming the Jay Cutler position. And you know what that is? That's the position where you sit your ass in a chair just like I am right now, and you turn on your TV, just like I'm going to do next weekend, and you watch the playoffs from home because you don't make it yet again, just like Jay Cutler is going to do if he's leading the Chicago Bears in 2014, period. It's time to move on, Chicago. Get it through your thick fucking skulls. Jay Cutler must go.